Hi, I'm Mike Purdy. I am the author of 101 Presidential Insults, What They Really Thought About Each Other, and What It Means to Us. And I want to just tell you one very heartwarming story that comes out of this book, out of my research, and I talk about it in the introduction a little bit. And it's about John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, our second and our third presidents. So one of the interesting things is that Adams and Jefferson served together. Jefferson was Adams' vice president. That's because the Constitution at the time allowed people from different political parties to serve in those two offices. And about 3 months, just a hair tad over 3 months after Adams was inaugurated as president, Jefferson, his vice president, said the following about Adams. He said that Adams was distrustful, obstinate, excessively vain, and takes no counsel from anyone. So it's not exactly a great formula for a president and vice president to be working together. And then about 2 weeks later, Adams says about Jefferson, Adams the president, says about Jefferson, his vice president, he says that he is a mind soured, yet seeking for popularity and eaten to a honeycomb with ambition, yet weak, confused, uninformed, and ignorant. So the interesting thing is that John Adams and Thomas Jefferson met each other in 1775 in Philadelphia for the Second Continental Congress. They became great friends and collaborators. That was the Congress, of course, that drafted the Declaration of Independence. Adams and Jefferson both served on the committee to draft it. Adams turned to Jefferson and said, look, you're a much better writer than I am, and you should write the draft. So Jefferson did. It's actually something that kind of stuck in Adams' craw for most of his life, that Jefferson got all of the credit for the Declaration of Independence. And of course, Jefferson did draft most of that. Then a number of years later found both Adams and Jefferson in Europe representing the United States interests there. Their families were there. Their families were friends. These guys were great friends with one another until the election of 1796. And they found themselves on different political parties. And that's when Jefferson became Adams' vice president. In the election of 1800, Jefferson runs against Adams and beats him. And Adams is mortified. And so at 4 o'clock in the morning on Inauguration Day, March 4th, 1801, Adams quietly slips out of the White House in the dark and takes a public stage back to Massachusetts. He was too embarrassed to be there for the inauguration of Jefferson as his successor. So these men basically ignored each other for a number of years until about a dozen years before they both passed away. You had Adams write a letter to Jefferson. And one of the things that he said in this letter is he said, you and I ought not to die before we have explained ourselves to each other. And I love that terminology, explained ourselves to each other. And I think it's something that we could stand to do a lot more in today's society as a way to create more civility in our public conversation. So that began a series of many, many letters between Adams and Jefferson for about a little over a dozen years until they both passed away on the same day, which happened to be the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1826. So this story and other stories are recounted in my book, 101 Presidential Insults, What They Really Thought About Each Other, and What It Means to Us. It's a great conversation piece. It is non-political. These insults go back all the way to the founding. There's at least one insult about every president by another president. The book is available on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble. Makes a great stocking stuffer or a Christmas gift for the history buff, the person who loves politics, loves humor in your life. So I encourage you to pick up a copy, 101 Presidential Insults, What They Really Thought About Each Other and What It Means to Us. Thanks for listening and watching, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season filled with much joy. Thanks. Bye-bye now.